Hi, this is Edip, January 16, 2019. Today I would like to talk on chapter 5, verse 33 of the Quran. It is one of the verses that abused by Sunnis and Shiites, distorted, and also, of course, atheists and Christians are using this to attack the Quran. And Islam means peacemaking. In Quran, in Manifesto for Islamic Reform, you will see that Sunni religion has nothing to do with Islam. In my YouTube channel, you can find my English videos with the letter E inside parentheses after my name, Edip Yuksel, parentheses E. There is one interview, I think you will benefit from it greatly. It is on ISIS. ISIS is basically practicing Sunni religion. If you type ISIS, Sunni, Edip Yuksel, my name, and then ISIS, you will find that it was interviewed by Rudao TV channel in Washington, D.C. And also you can find PDF version of this or as a book at Amazon.com. This is Quran, a reformist translation. Okay, how can I, this is a little bit awkward to, okay. And you can see this is on the back of the book. Here I have extensive endnotes. There I discuss the verses where I differ from traditional Sunni and Shiite translations. I make a case argument for why it should be translated the way we translate it. And also there are philosophical questions and also extensive cross-reference to Bible, to Old and New Testament. And also in the beginning, I challenge the reader, regardless your knowledge of Arabic, whether it is zero or you are a professor in Arabic, you will see how distortions is made. For example, here it is, how the word jizya is mistranslated as a taxation on Christians or Jews, which is in fact a war reparation. Or this is another mistranslation. For example, I compare with with three other translations, and I highlight the distortions, and then I make an argument using etymology and also the usage of the word in the Quran. And there are many like that. For example, especially verses on women and regarding wars, those crucial issues has been distorted. Or this one, okay, where is it? Anyway, this is available for free on PDF. I don't make money from my books on religion. I have written more than 30 books. I have written also 19 questions for Muslim scholars, 19 questions for Christians, and the 19 question for atheists. This is the Turkish version. I don't have the English version. This is a very solemn book, great book, very useful. Many atheists, after reading this, they have given up from becoming atheists. Okay, let's, this has been, my gosh, 4 minutes. Okay, let's go on this verse, chapter 5, verse 33. And let me show you here. I know I am not using it with technology, and I hope that you can read. Okay, the verse, let me read. Let me read the translation, make it easier, from Reformist translation. The recompense of those who fight God and his messenger and seek to corrupt the land is that they will be killed or crucified, or that their hands and feet be cut off on alternate sides, or that they be banished from the land. That is a disgrace for them in this world. In the in the hereafter they will have a great retribution. And the following verse we'll read also. Let me see. The following verse says, except for those who repent before you overpower them, then know that God is forgiving, compassionate. Now, pay attention here and how it is used to mislead people. Okay, it is a little bit not aligned. Okay. Do you see it? I hope that you can see. Okay, chapter 5, verse 33. There are few verbs there. One is أن يقتلوا. يقتلوا. And يقتلوا or يقتلوا. Let me check whether it is in a... Okay, here it is. جزاء الذين يحاربون الله ورسوله فسادا أن يقتلوا. Maybe أن يقتلوا. Okay, يقتلوا means they have been killed. يقتلوا. Not you kill. It is in passive form. Very unusual. In the Quran, usually it is direct form, do this, do that. But here, there is no order to believer, to Muslims to do something. It is about karma. If you live by sword, you die by sword. If you go kill other people, the other people will kill you. In fact, there are verses in the Quran, I forgot to put their numbers, that if there are people who are aggressing, God will punish them with another aggressors, not necessarily by believers. Therefore, it is about karma, finding what you are seeking. You will basically get punished, but through your own deeds. And therefore, look at this. I put this reading, which is يقتلوا, indirect means they will be killed. يصلبوا means they will be hanged. تقطع أيديهم وأرجلهم من خلاف, their hands and legs being cut in cross. And then ينفوا من الأرض, they will be banished from the land. As you see, there are 1, 2, 3, 4 form of punishment or consequences is counted, and all of them are in indirect form, not direct, indirect form. Now let's see what will happen. When you look at the Quran, these two forms are used here by Pharaoh as a punishment. Chapter 7, 124. I don't have time to show you. I want to make it short as possible. Chapter 7, verse 124. This chapter is known Al-A'raf. And then chapter 20 is known as Taha. Start with 2 letters or 2 numbers. Ta is 9, Ha is 5, is 14. Taha, which is mathematical structure of the Quran, is an extraordinary code in the Quran, and of course majority of people are either ignorant of it or they are reacting to it without knowing about it. And that's interesting. Throughout history we see this kind of reaction to the truth. Chapter 20, verse 71, in these 2 verses you will see this is a threat of Pharaoh. It is punishment used by Pharaoh. In fact, the Romans also using, and they use against Jesus. And the Quran refers to that, but tells us that Jesus was already, his soul was taken. And they just crucified his body, not him in person. And therefore, salaba, this is not something believers do. In fact, it is something the aggressors, the polytheists, the ingrates are doing against believers. The word believer really I'm not comfortable with because it really doesn't convey the meaning of iman. Iman means trusting based on evidence and truth. Al-bayna, al-hujja, al-ayah, based on evidence, trusting or acknowledging the truth. Okay, this is, therefore, throughout the Quran we see this is, punishment is used by Pharaoh. And therefore, the following verse, if believers, mu'mins or Muslimun, peacemakers, they are attacked by them, if they capture them, according to the Quran, there are only few things can be done. Only two things, in fact. They collapse to one. Chapter 47, verse 4, فَضَرْبَ الرِّقَابِ مَنًّا وَفِدَاءً. Anyway, this word is mistranslated. I have a video on this one. The word riqab means the control center, the command center of the enemy. فَضَرْبَ الرِّقَابِ means hit the command center in order to end the war with less bloodshed. Raqaba doesn't mean neck, but the traditional translations mistranslate this word as the neck, cut their neck. Has nothing to do with that. The neck is in Arabic al-unuq, unuq. But here is riqab, raqaba. Raqaba means to watch. And here are some verses here about the occurrence of raqaba. Let me show you here. Okay, here. Okay, I want to show you here. This is where the word raqaba is mentioned. I have a video on this particular verse, and this is how it is mistranslated. I hope that you can see it. You can read it. You can push the space bar and stop it in order to read it. Anyway, the riqab means to observe. For example, there is an attribute of God, raqib. God is watchful, observing, controlling. And fadarb al-riqab means to hit their control center. And then when they are captured, after they are captured, either they are released mannan, for free, and fida'an, or with some compensation, or as an exchange. That's it. According to the Quran, captives, prisoner of war, cannot be tortured, cannot be sentenced to death, cannot be punished, because it is war. War is different than individual, someone killing someone. There are psychological, sociological, and other personal reasons why war is different. And also that we need to end the war, not continue. And therefore, captives cannot, there's no slavery in the Quran, just the opposite. Quran rejects slavery as number one, the biggest crime against God and humanity. Because if you have a slave, you claim to the master, the God of that person. Pharaoh, therefore, he was declared to make his own ego as God, because he says, "Ana rabbukumul a'la," I am your master, great master. You are my slaves. Abd means slave. If you have an abd, a slave, you claim to be the Rabb of that person. That is the greatest sin, blasphemy that you can commit according to the Quran, unforgivable sin. And therefore, Moses fought against Pharaoh, and children of Israel escaped from Pharaoh, because it is the greatest sin. They should not have accepted that subjugation. The Quran also is critical of slaves for accepting that subjugation. If you have a chance, you have to escape from slavery. Freedom is much more important. Anyway, the Quran is comparing freedom with slavery, and of course rejected. Therefore, when we go back to this verse, 533, believers can do the qital, means fight those who are attacking, warmongers, who are fighting, who are killing, innocent people, children, women who are attacking your home, and you can fight them. Here are the verses on that. A few verses, chapter 2, 208, until peace. The ultimate goal is to establish peace. And 532 says, killing a human being is like human entire. Oh, interesting, just one verse before. Killing one human being is like killing the entire humanity. And chapter 60, verse 8-9, if you look at it, chapter Mumtahina is known. Verse 8-9 is about the purpose of war, and then only for self-defense. Muslims, peacemakers, cannot attack other people to take their lands or for glory or for other reasons. Only for self-defense. But after Muhammad, of course, centuries later, they distorted through fabrication of hadith and sunnah, volumes of books, and also sectarian teachings, and they created absolutely different religion. It has nothing to do with Islam. Islam is not really a religion. It's a philosophy, it's a way of living and thinking, it's a rational monotheism. Okay, and here it is. The banishment. Therefore, believers, if believers control them, capture them, only these two can be done. Of course, before capturing, there is fight. Defending, while defending, you can capture them. The only thing believer can do, yunfamil ardi, means banish them from land, which is in chapter 35, chapter 34, and also chapter 59, verse 1-4. The example of banishment is given. That's it. Therefore, the first one, believers cannot be the aggressors, peacemakers cannot be the aggressors, only for self-defense you can fight, and ultimately if you capture them, you banish them from land. You believers, or let's say the truster of the truth, or those who trust the truth, or peacemakers, cannot hang that person, cannot crucify, nor can chop their arms and legs. This is absolutely a distortion, and the Quran clearly says this is the punishment given by Pharaoh or Roman Empire. Okay, I hope that you will check those verses, and I hope it is clear now. What you know about Islam, if you haven't studied the Quran alone, and it is most likely is wrong, and many things that you will now object, I know, in your mind, they will not be true. They are either false assumptions or based on false teachings like hadith and sunnah. For example, the Quran talks about banishment here, but hadith sources and later Siyar ibn Hisham and others, they narrate a story centuries after Muhammad about Bani Qurayza, massacre of Bani Qurayza. But when you study it, it contradicts the verses of the Quran, clear verses of the Quran. You cannot kill the captives. And then in that one there is a massacre. 600, or according to another version, 800 Jewish people, they were basically beheaded. But when you study the story, in fact, there is a beautiful academic article, journal article on that issue about Bani Qurayza, finds exactly the story is copy from Masada massacre, 70 years after Jesus. Jewish people were massacred by Roman Empire, but the details of both story, so-called Bani Qurayza massacre, is exactly the story of Masada massacre. Even the number, like 600 or 800, these two numbers in that story, or the leader of the Jewish people before they are beheaded or crucified, he is allowed to give a speech. The same story, the same story. Very interesting. Why they fabricated? Well, we discussed this here in this book, Warmongers, Peacemaker's Guide to Warmongers. I highly recommend you to find this book. Here I discuss extensive discussion with Robert Spencer. He's a warmonger, Christian evangelical warmonger, or Ali Sina, and David Horowitz. And Mullah Umar, Bill Warner, Ali Sina, and other enemies of peace. And an extensive discussion, see, they are basically refuted and they lost. They lost all these arguments here. I challenge any Christian or atheist or any Shiite who is trying to depict Muhammad as a warmonger or as an aggressor or as a pedophile. They absolutely have no basis. Their basis is just false, fabricated sources called Hadith and Sunnah. Just a little piece of information. Bukhari, the so-called most authentic Hadith book of Sunnis, is written 230 years after Muhammad. In fact, the original Bukhari even doesn't exist. It's centuries later, and full of lies and insults to Prophet Muhammad. Anyway, peace.